You're listening to the Rebel Scum podcast.
You are always scum. Rebel Scum.
From odds making to list rankings, we've got you covered. And don't forget to join us on Patreon for early access and exclusive content. Here are your hosts, Brock and James.
April on the calendar is Jana. She was living in isolation on Kef Burr for quite some time with her. I guess they weren't really isolated. They were on Kef Burr, hiding, isolating themselves, quarantining themselves from the First Order. I'm James. That's Brock. Hi.
Hi.
We're going to get right into it.
What that planet's called?
Kef Burr?
Kef Burr.
The
And
galaxy,
also, why isn't Jana January?
I think Ray was January. I don't know. Good point. Jana June?
January.
But she's April, and it says the galaxy needs more rebels on her thing. Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, last year's Star Wars calendar I preferred. It had, this one is like April, like English and French, and now it just looks like it's saying Avril Lavigne to me every day I look at it. Scumbags, hello.
What's up?
You know, just loving life, living the isolation world. I was talking to our friend Brett before going on here. He did work on the Invisible Man horror movie on the reshoots because he's doing The Handmaid's Tale, and so he was asked to join the reshoots of the Invisible Man based on that. Knowledge has nothing to do with Star Wars. 165 episodes. It's just I've just been thinking a lot about how Star Wars has helped a lot of people during isolation at this time. Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are at home right now, and I talk to your roommate Daryl all the time, and he mentions how bored he is. And I was like, but if you like Star Wars, you would have so like endless amount of content. You were just watching the Freemaker adventures you mentioned. There's just so much content, like Star Wars content out there. So thank you to Lucasfilm and Disney. You never knew it, but the world needs you right now. And this is your time to shine.
Yeah.
Have you watched any more Freemakers adventures since we last talked?
No. I've been catching up on other like non-Disney Plus things. It's fun to watch Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, starting from the beginning of the season, where it's just like slowly the coronavirus stuff creeps up, and you're like, you're
like watching the coronavirus in chronological order take over late night TV.
But yeah, you know, these live streams every day, I'm like running out of things to talk about on Star Wars.
We're doing a lot of trivia. There's not a lot of Star Wars content dropping, and I guess it makes sense. What are they going to drop, right? Like, it's like they're not really working on anything. Okay, the Obi-Wan series has another writer come on board, but I didn't find that big enough news. It might be on Holo News, I'm not sure, but it's not like a topic. Let's dive deep into this. It's like, I'm so sick of hearing about Obi-Wan writers at this point. It's like, just write the show and make it. I'm done talking about it until I see it. Clone Wars is coming to an end on May 4th, as is a new show starting on Disney Plus about the behind the scenes of Mandalorian. It seems like it's going to be a series. So it's going to be weekly, every week. The show, we're going to get to see a little bit behind the scenes, but it seems like it's going to be an ongoing series even beyond Mandalorian. That's what it sounds like. I could be wrong. I don't know. Just I can't remember what the show's called. I don't have it in front of me right now, but it seems like something that they're not going to make Mandalorian specific. Do you know what I mean? Like they're leaving the door open in case they're like, well, we could do a High School Musical, the musical version of this, or you know, Mandalorian Season 2, Obi-Wan, things like that. So they're going to leave the door open, which I think is completely smart.
Yeah. I thought it was going to come out all as one like series, but I like that. Like, why not stagger it? Gives us something nice to look at every week. But you're thinking that it'll be like a series. That's smart, like, because they're continuously making stuff. So just put whatever, but brand it as one thing. I like that idea.
So it's called Disney Gallery.
Confirmed, or you just is that what you're getting from what you've read?
From what it's called Disney Gallery. Why wouldn't they just call it Mandalorian Behind the Scenes? So it's called Disney Gallery, which tells me, which is cool, man, because this is like, you know, when you buy a DVD, when I got The Rise of Skywalker, I watched the Legacy of the Skywalker behind the scenes documentary, 2-hour documentary right away, right? I was like, I gotta watch this. This is what this is, but it's a series in serial form. And I watched some of the Imagination, whatever it's called, that series there where they talk about creating the parks and the rides and stuff at Disney. And I love that. I love this kind of stuff. I think it's great. And I'd love to see it for The Mandalorian. I haven't watched High School Musical, the musical, but I'm sure fans of that, they might be a different demographic. But there are going to be shows that are coming up. You know, obviously Mandalorian Season 2, Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's going to be more happening on there where you're like, I wouldn't mind seeing some of how this got made. And when they position themselves with this is Season 1 of the Galleries, The Mandalorian. Season 2 is this show. I just think that's a great move.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially like the Marvel stuff. Like
Marvel, yes.
Because it's those shows specifically, like there's so many little intricacies put into it. Not that regular ones, like High School Musical is interesting, I'm sure, but like it's just run-of-the-mill clothing. So like you could spend, or it's just, you know, maybe, I mean, prove me wrong. Maybe there is a way to make that interesting, but yeah, it just the concept art and like just ideas by how they create things is always more interesting when it's like costumes and stuff like that, absolutely. Like where it's elaborate. So yeah, like no, I'm like that's really exciting. Like it's so smart too. But I think we were talking about it on the live stream at one point this week where it was just like, was this supposed to come out when they've announced, or was it supposed to come out later? I don't know. Like there does seem to be a gap of like when Clone Wars will end to when Mandalorian will start. And especially if you're saying that it'll be a weekly series, like that just fills in. It's like, at least there's some new Star Wars content at all times.
So it's 8 weeks.
Nice.
Which,
does Resistance come back? Has that been renewed?
The which?
Resistance.
No, that's done. That is series finale. There was only 2 seasons. Second season, when it ends, it ends. Have you watched the ending of that yet?
Yeah, it just sort of ends.
Oh, really? Oh, well, it's over. That is done. There's rumors right now on, we'll talk about this maybe in next week or so, the rumored Rebels show. There's a sequel to Rebels show. I think it's the Ahsoka Sabine show.
Yeah.
Which has me curious with Ahsoka on Mandalorian. Because is her on Mandalorian before, like, because we don't really know the timing exactly of when she meets up with Sabine.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to say. Because when rewatching that episode, it's sort of vague.
Smart.
What that time period is, right?
Yeah. And I kudos to them making it vague, because this is new Star Wars, and you don't know when anything is supposed to happen anymore. Anything, you know, and look, we talked about it last week. I know people were debating it and whatnot, but I find with canon is you still have your outline, your baseline, but you have to give people freedom to tell their stories also. And I think watching it, we need to just relax ourselves immensely. And so I think just leaving things vague like that is really smart. So what do you think? If Ahsoka is in season 2 of the Mando, is this before she's met up with Sabine, or is this, as a lot of people are predicting, after, and they're bringing Baby Yoda to Ahsoka?
That's hard to say. I mean, well, we know roughly. We just don't know when she meets up with Sabine. That's the unknown. Like everything else, we're like, yeah, this is happening here and there. When does Rebels end? Like not the final scene, but like when they have the battle where, spoilers, Ezra and Thrawn go into like hyperspace whales. Like,
I want to say a year before New Hope ish.
Okay, yeah. So like, there's still like a good like 8 or 9, 10 year or whatever New Hope is from Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Although this is called 10, right? Like it's like that's a good decade. Which again, that's not a huge deal. I think if they're smart, they would keep it before. Because now that like she's been yanked out of time, like the last time you see her is when Ezra pulls her out of the battle with Vader, and then we don't see her again until she's in the white cloak. So it's like there's a lot of things have to have happened. She herself seems to have changed. So it's like there's a lot you can do with that. I like the concept of her being like a mystic or something like that. So that could definitely work in Mandalorian if like she gives them information about who exactly Baby Yoda is, but that still can occur prior to Rebels. And then you just drop a nice little Easter egg. It's like, I have to go see a friend about a boy or something, which is so weird. But like you just drop that in, and you're like, oh, that's nice.
I think Baby Yoda, as much as we all love Baby Yoda, I'm nervous about the more time we spend with him and the more the show becomes about Baby Yoda, what that's going to do. Because he's like the novelty of Baby Yoda is what made him so adorable and predictable, right? They didn't overuse him whatsoever in season 1. It's like the very first episode, you see him briefly. Second episode uses the Force, saves Mando. You're like, oh, they have a relationship. Third season, he's mostly hidden through most of the episode. It's about getting him back. The episode with Bill Burr, they hide him on the show. You know what I mean? Like, he's never really at the forefront until he needs to be, like, in the last episode and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, like, I don't know, you just think about it, it's like, if they return him to... If Ahsoka gets her hands on Baby Yoda, and I say Baby Yoda, and people will get mad because it's the child or the asset, but I'm going with Baby Yoda because I don't care.
That's what the internet is calling him.
I know, but I saw people getting mad about the Baby Yoda name. It's not Baby. I don't care. I know he's not Baby Yoda.
Yeah, we're aware.
But this species doesn't have a name, and I'm calling him Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
If Ahsoka got her hands on Baby Yoda, inevitably we're going to have to learn more about him. She's going to have some kind of explanation to something. Even if it's, unless it's only like, I've never seen something like this before. And then it's like, okay, how far is too far? And the one thing that, I respect the hell out of Jon Favreau for picking the Yoda species because we know nothing about it. But if we start to learn anything about it, then it becomes less special in a lot of ways. Not that Yoda was ever very special. It was more like he's a Yoda and there are more of them in the galaxy. We just haven't gotten that.
Yeah.
But there's some things are definitely better left unsaid to me, and I do fear if they return Baby Yoda, if anything comes up with more, or we go to Yoda's planet or whatever, I just feel like it's going to be too much and it's not going to feel right.
I guess the question is like, what is the Mandalorian about? You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's still a little unclear. I mean, we can say the season 1 is about this journey he goes on, which is enough, but what happens next? Because what is the looming menace right now is Moff Gideon, who we know almost nothing about outside of that. There is somewhat of a connection to the Mandalorian. But everything you've kind of built is kind of either destroyed or the Mandalorian leaves behind. You know what I mean? Like he goes off with Baby Yoda, blah, 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 which is very interesting. And I think that a season on that can survive. I mean, already did technically. But you have this setup with Cara Dune and Grief. What's Carl Weathers' last name? Garga, the Grief Karga. And it's like he sets up all these characters he's going to interact and he's this team, but then the team goes away and then his group of Mandalorians are all like murdered. He's alone again. So it's like, I guess now he's looking for like meaning by perhaps returning Baby Yoda to somewhere safe. I don't know. There's so much unknown, which is fine. I think that's what I love about the show. So it's a good question. I think it's something we have to reevaluate when we get like a synopsis or watch a few episodes of The Mandalorian where you're like, yeah, do we need to know this much about Baby Yoda? I remember watching that first episode. I was like, I don't know if I need to know about Yoda, and we still don't know anything.
That was the genius I thought of the first season is they built this character where you know even less than you did before, but it still felt like I knew enough about Baby Yoda to not need to know more. And I just worry the longer the show goes and the longer the show is about Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian that they're going to have to start to tell us more. Like the one saving grace, I guess, is this show is going to run 4 seasons. Bob Iger announced in the summer, I believe. So it goes 4 seasons. That'll bring Baby Yoda to 54 years old. If it's if each season is a year, it might not be. So that means, and I know you love it, but that means Baby Yoda never has to speak, because why would a 54-year-old versus a 50-year-old speak? You know what I mean? Yeah. Maybe he learns to speak. You get a couple words, but it's full sentences. So I don't think they have to ever worry about, do all of Yodas talk like Yoda? They don't have. I mean, maybe they do, but then it becomes less special again, right? The more you start to dive into these things, for me, it starts. And I know it's a weird small gripe, but Yoda is so powerful in Empire Strikes Back that even, and you know I love the prequels, but I think even the prequels start to diminish a little bit of that because we hear so much of him, we see so much of Yoda. That is, his presence in Empire, with not ever meeting him before, is arguably top 10 in movie history of impact. Arguably, I would say even top 5. It's so impactful for this character, and his speech is part of it. The mysticism around him is part of it. We don't know anything about him. It's just this green Muppet thing that comes out of nowhere. And the more you start to indulge us with information, the less of an impact that has, which is selfish, sure, but it's also part of storytelling, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. It's sort of...
It's tough.
It's a hard call. I would be for it if somehow it links us to High Republic in some way, which we hypothetically could. I mean, I don't want High Republic to be about just Yoda, but he can exist in that time period. So
yes, that I'm fine with. Yes.
So like perhaps, or not even. We don't even have to talk about Yoda specifically. We can just reference the High Republic in Mandalorian. Do I think we need to? I don't know. I'm just trying to think outside the box. It was like, one, like, this is just me being a Star Wars fan where it's like, we should all link it together, but like, really, not everyone wants that. Like, it's just because you're like, oh, by the way, if you want to learn more, here's a book. But like, some people are like, I no, it's okay. It's like, do we want to waste time on? It's always great to connect it all, but I don't know. When you listen to someone not know about Clone Wars and be like, this doesn't make any sense because da 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 da, like, or like, you know, someone watching Solo is like, why is Darth Maul back and why is that a big deal? And you're like, yeah, that's a good point.
Have you had anybody ask you that question?
I'm trying to think. Most of the people I know that have talked to me about Solo vaguely know about the Clone Wars in some way. But I've heard people on podcasts talk about it where it's like, why is this important? Why is Darth Maul back? He got chopped in half. He's like, well, and you're like, yeah, why is...
See, so I know a few people that didn't know about him coming back, but their reactions were very different. I think it's the way you look at movies, right? They look at it like, oh, how did he come back? Like, they're more interested. They're not going to watch the Clone Wars, and I'm not suggesting that people will, and they shouldn't have to either. But they're more like, oh, I want to know next. Tell me how he came back. Now that's already been told, sure, but so I met quite a few people like that who haven't seen Clone Wars and they didn't know about that, and they're more like, how did he go? Because the thing with Maul is everybody thinks he's cool. He's cool looking, and I think the biggest flaw of Solo was having him at the end with no future planned out for him.
Yeah,
that's really, I think, the misstep. And I love Solo and I love Maul, but one of the missteps of Solo is, if you've heard the stories, Ron Howard had a list of characters that could have been at the end, and he called his son, and his son was like, "Gotta be Maul," and they went with Maul. But again, this goes back to what we were saying. We were saying this about the sequel trilogy: is why they make they're making movies, and I think this goes beyond Star Wars nowadays, where they don't ask why. Why do I need this movie? It's not why do I need this movie. It's what's cool about this movie. It's like, but why are you making this movie? Why did you make this decision? Every decision made in a movie needs to be answered why they made that decision. Why did you do that? If you watch just A New Hope, everything they do, there's a why. There's always a purpose for it. And you could argue, you know what? For most part of The Last Jedi, there's a why, and it's usually so that they could fail. But even the problem with that one is there's still no why does Snoke die in the middle? Like why? Because they don't have an answer, so the why is never really answered, and that's the problem with this. Just filmmaking as a whole nowadays, for the most part, is why? Why are you making this movie? Why is Maul there? Because he looks cool? I'm down with that. Yeah, but there has to be something beyond that. And to tease me at the end of the movie is fine because it's cool, but where's your gameplay? Not even a book has come out. A book, a comic, nothing has come out about that, which tells me that there was no plan. Because if there was a plan for a movie, a second movie, and they're like, we're not doing it, they would have released that novelization so fast. They would have been like, just write a book. Just hire any one of your millions of amazing, talented writers over at Lucasfilm Publishing, Del Rey, and write that book, but nothing. So that tells me that there was no plan. They just threw him in because it was cool.
Yeah, and like they've made stories about Han in Legends. Like there's like I think it's a trilogy. I believe I listened to it on tape once, and it's creepy because you kind of hear someone try to make it sound like Chewbacca can speak English. But like, see, that's the thing. It's like, there is a market to put out all this info on all these characters. It's us, like you, me, Andrew, Rob, all of our Patreons pretty well, I believe. I don't want to speak for them, but like
Rural Farm Boy doesn't know much about Star Wars.
Like, do I really need to read the book about Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan? No, but I do. I'm almost done, and it's pretty good. I mean, are you going to make a thing out of it? No, but like it fills in gaps, and it's very interesting because one thing you kind of don't see in the movie is Count Dooku and Qui-Gon's relationship, and you're like, oh wow, there's so much more to it. So,
but these books should just be fun side adventures.
I think you and I can both agree right now that we will do whatever it takes to get Mandalorian on Disney Plus tomorrow.
Yes.
Like, it's just a fantastic show. They did really, really well. And I hope that success is going to benefit us down the road.
I've watched the show 5 times over so far.
It's only 5 hours, 5.5 hours. I'm like, that's doable.
Yeah, I've watched it 5 times now. And like I said, it was funny because Andrew asked me on a live stream once. He goes, "Do you think you'll ever sit down and watch it all?" And I said, "No." And I did without even. It wasn't a plan. In a row,
without stopping.
Yeah, I think I left for one of the episode, like for part of an episode. Just was like, but I did, and I wasn't planning to. I just was like, I want to watch the egg episode, and I was like, well, I should watch the first one, and I just watched it. I just find it very engaging, a lot of fun, and you know,
I don't know if I'm out in left field, but I would argue the pseudo car chase that is the AT-AT, or not AT-AT, the Sandcrawler, like, I guess chase. I guess you could call that, because how does he
the Batman sequence, the 60s Batman sequence?
That is that's true. That is like arguably, I think, definitely got to be up on the top 10 for chases. I don't know. I know it's like the slowest chase ever, but it's just It's so epic.
It's very Batman.
Like high stakes, and it's like a garbage truck.
Yeah.
It's like because how does the Mandalorian catch up to it? He's walking, right?
I think so.
The ship.
He's on a
Was he on a speeder? I just watched
5
this.
times. I can't remember.
Yeah. Anyways,
And
but like
it's probably my favorite episode too.
it's like someone on a bicycle chased a garbage truck, and it is like, whoa, that was fantastic. And that's not even the best part of that episode,
Yeah,
right? Like when you think about it, you're just like, but it's so good.
I love
like,
it. It's very
Anyways,
Batman meets Indiana Jones. The whole thing.
Yeah. Yes. That's exactly it.
So much. It's just so much fun, and I know some people have a problem with it because it's fun. It's like, what do you? I honestly, I question sometimes why people watch Star Wars. I'm like, I don't know what you think Star Wars is, but you might be watching it for the wrong reasons. It is literally, when I watched the egg episode of The Mandalorian, it's like, if I was a kid, this would be my favorite show. And I know that because that's the kind of show that, I mean, I think TV's changed a lot and kids now watch, Paw Patrol. But it's different, for sure. Like, I was watching Thundercats, they're watching Paw Patrol. It's very, very different. But I would totally be down with that Mandalorian episode, 100%. And then the next episode is the one that Deborah Chow did, which is arguably the best episode in the series. Arguably. But then in the finale, not to spoil it, but when the armorer takes out the stormtroopers.
Yeah.
So good. And then Baby Yoda with the fireball and the incinerator trooper. Those are my favorite moments. And like they are probably in my top moments of Star Wars, if I were to think about it.
I feel like watching Mandalorian for a young child, even though there was a part in it and I was like, ooh, that's kind of violent, but I don't know if kids would watch this, but I know for a fact that kids watch it. But like Mandalorian feels like if you were discovered as a young child without anyone showing it to you, it'd be like the experience I had when I watched The Road Warrior for the first time.
Yeah.
Where it's so gritty and it's like not a ton of stuff is explained. You know what I mean? Like, is that
it's like adult, but it's on that cusp of It's not too hardcore for you, and it is gritty, and you feel like you're a badass child for watching it. You're like, oh
yeah.
Did you see that? Did you see that? He's the warrior of the road, Max. And the kid with the boomerang. By the way, I found a roommate in college. My roommate in college got me the Mad Max action figure, like that big. I found it. The plastic on the outside is all yellow now. It got all yellowed. But him and the kid look amazing. I'm going to take it out and I'll put them on display. The road. I love Mad Max. The if you buy the DVD, the quote on the bottom says "Apocalypse Pow." That's what it says. I love this movie. Have you ever seen the first Mad Max?
Yeah, it's god awful.
But dubbed in American, or have you watched the Australian one?
I don't know. I had it on VHS for the longest time, and I couldn't watch the whole thing because it's so different from the other two Mad Max.
It's so different, and they quote like the bad guy quotes AC/DC. I don't even think it's referred to as post-apocalyptic. You're just supposed to know, but there's two versions: an Australian one and an American dubbed one.
Oh, that's awesome!
But they're English. They're both in English. It's just one they're like, "Hi, Max," and the other one's like, "Come on, Max." And you're like, why did you spend money on dubbing this? But Mel Gibson does the voice for both, so you're good.
That is funny though. Like when I think of The Road Warrior, I don't really think of Australia, even though there's Australian actors. I assume
it's the Australian wasteland.
But you know what I mean? Like I never really think about that. Like, yeah, Mel Gibson's just speaking in his normal accent, but like.
Yeah, and he's barely Australian accent. Like, and even back then, he's like, "I'm Max. Come on, Max. We're gonna go back to heroes." That's my impression of the cop from the first Mad Max. Mel Gibson actually got his arm run over by a motorcycle in Mad Max 1.
That's awesome.
Crazy. Yeah, I love me some Mad Max. Tina Turner.
Oh, Thunderdome.
Yeah, which is basically the same plot as Hook. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but you're like, it's an old man hangs out with a bunch of kids, and then they fight in Thunderdome. We don't need another. Ming Na is returning to Mandalorian.
Fantastic.
Did you hear about that?
What? Sorry, I didn't hear what
Ming Na returning to Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah. How are we not spoken of?
We are right now.
This is
strange.
I love it. Ming Na is cool. I actually just watched totally non-Star Wars related
Mulan?
show. Aquafina is Nora of Queens. Aquafina is like the comedian. She was in what do you call it? Crazy Rich Asians, whatever. Ocean's 8. She's like a YouTuber that was a comedian / rapper, and now she's, making it big. But anyways, my reason for bringing it up is Ming Na plays her aunt in one episode, and I'm like, man, what a career. You were in Star Wars and Mulan and ER.
And arguably the second greatest sitcom of all time. The Single Guy. Yeah,
That's what I first met her as. Like, she's the one dude's wife.
Yeah, exactly.
The Single Guy.
Who was in Hollow Man. He went on to be in Hollow Man, and she went on to be in Star Wars. Hollow Man, not Invisible Man, Brock. Don't get too excited. Hollow Man with Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon right here.
Yeah.
Hollow Man. I think he was good friends with Craig Kilborn as well. Remember Craig Kilborn? The late show with Craig Kilborn?
Prior to
Old school.
Oh god, what was that dude?
Craig
the boss
Ferguson.
Craig Ferguson.
There was a time when late night hosts had to be named Craig, and now it's James. If your name is James or Jim, if you're in that area, like we should have a late night show. I would rock at it.
And like Craig Kilborn was the original host of the Daily Show when it wasn't really the Daily Show.
Yeah, and then it was and then he
Jon
went
Stewart
over
took
there.
over.
He took over for the good old days. I heard a lot of guests. It wasn't great, but he was in Old School.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know what's happening to this show.
So Ming Na is
ties it all together.
coming back. Cool, because they did not give her character enough time. So, I mean, if Maul can come back from being cut in half, Ming Na's Shand character can easily come back.
Fennec Shand.
Fennec Shand.
Yeah, I think I still think this is my feelings. I've had this feeling since the day they announced she was in it, which was very late into the game. I feel like they needed this character cast, and they're like, who would be cool? Ming Na, and they're like, yeah, and that's why she was in it. And she's like, she's like, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah. Right?
Like, she seems cool. And she's like, yeah, Star Wars, I'm in. She's like, I'm in Marvel. I'm in this. Let's do it. Let's bring it. So that's wow. I think that happened. And then they're like, now they're like, well, she's awesome. We're bringing everybody else back. Let's bring her back. And so it might be a flashback or now. We haven't Never Tell Me the Odds later on coming up where we will have an idea for it. But is there any way that you want to see her back? Do you hope it's a flashback, or do you hope that she somehow survived? Even though we see her corpse at the end of that episode?
Well, even though we see what looks like a dead body, there's this feet that walk up, and then that's the end. And then there's no closure on that. So perhaps something can come of that. So that's your in. That's how you bring her back. And whatever. I mean, you still got to figure out a good excuse of how she's alive again.
Why? It's the why.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's how, but like that's how you bring her, because I would argue the way that episode sets her up, she's almost at like Cad Bane level where she's just notorious. Like they don't even talk about, I don't think they really reference any of the things she does outside she's like the assassin you want. I guess maybe more like Horror Singh, but you know what I mean? Like they set her up and then get rid of her immediately. And I think it's still, that episode's still good, but like that character just seems throwaway, even though there's like, oh man, this is like, ooh.
Yeah, I think like, but at the same time, do you think it would have been a throwaway character if they would have cast Jane Doe to play her? Do you know what I mean? Like, it almost feels like because it's her. But I agree, there's more to that character than meets the eye for sure. I hope we get more. It'd be kind of cool if maybe she shows up towards the end of this Clone Wars series.
Ooh. Yeah. I can't stress this enough. The more they connect all these things together, the happier I'll be. Even though I did say earlier, like, that's not a good way to bring in new viewers. I think for us, like, please do it.
There's a difference.
Please show that there's a plan.
I think there's a difference, though. It's when you tie things, like when you tie things in subtly that don't depend on your viewing or your reading of another medium, that's how you do it. Don't do something and be like, well, you have to read that or watch that to understand that. It's like, what? Like, I think the dark saber, I think Dave Filoni is the master of doing this, and the dark saber is going to be the first thing we're going to get where we're going to understand if they understand how to do this. Do you know what I mean? Because I watch it, I know what that dark saber is. Erin has no idea. Her questions on it right now are zero. She thinks he has a cool looking lightsaber.
Because technically, that ending is exactly like the Maul ending in Solo, where it's just like, oh, by the way, here, and like, what was that? Credits. And like, what?
But the thing is, you got to think that we're going to learn about it. And we're going to learn about it in a way that's not going to retell the story that we already know. I mean, they'll retell what we know, but they're going to give some new information and tell the story briefly and quicker and with probably less detail. And if you want the full detail, go watch the Clone Wars. But they're going to give just enough for the casual fans to be like, oh, that's the leader of Mandalore has that. Like, that's all you need to know about it. Nobody knows that right now watching the show without previous knowledge.
I have to word this properly because it's spoilers for Fallen Order.
I can mute. I can take my...
In Fallen Order... Okay, the dark...
Do you want me to take my headset off and you give me a thumbs up?
Night Sisters of Dathomir, right?
Yeah.
You know them, right? Mother Tenzin.
Yeah.
Anyways, in Fallen Order, there is one left over. She's the only one. She was a child when they were massacred, blah, blah, blah. And then helps your main character. That's all I'm going to say. But that reminded me of, like, fantasy novels where it's like, here, I'm the last, like, soldier, warrior, whatever, and I'm the last wizard or magician or sorceress. Like, that is interesting, and that is something you can set the future movies on, where you're like, there was this race, now they're gone, but then there's someone that's still alive and is trying to rebuild. Like, we see it in Rey, we see it kind of in Luke, but we kind of see what, like, Rey could hypothetically do that with the Jedi Order. Mm-hmm. And the Mandalorian, if we're talking Darksaber and how it unites the Mandalorians, perhaps he gets in this series and rebuilds the Mandalorian thing, so that when Rian Johnson, I'm not telling Rian Johnson what to do, his movies could be 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years into the future of the galaxy. And now we have a new type of Jedi, a new type of, like I was saying, Night Sister, like a whole new, like, working community of Mandalorians. So, like, and then you're just like, make a story. Like, I think that would be interesting. It's been done, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, but everything's been done. It's how you spin it. It's how you spin it and put the new flavor on it.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
that's how it is.
It's not so much like you're going to watch this and know what the next story is. You're not setting that up. You're setting up the new setting of the new era of Star Wars films. So,
which is fine, and I think they need to focus on that for sure. I mean, we just watched 3 movies, the sequel trilogy, which were just rehashes of movies we had already seen. Let's be honest. Like, we can love them all, and I love them all. But when you've watched, like, if you've seen the original trilogy, you've seen the sequel trilogy. Like, they pretty much mirror them.
Yes.
It's cyclical. It rhymes.
Yeah.
So it's not about what's new necessarily. And sometimes you don't have to reinvent the wheel. When you get your winter tires off, you're just putting your summer tires on. They work fine. Yeah, you're not putting triangles.
I wonder if, like, High Republic, this is a testing ground for, like, what can we do with at least the fans, like the Star Wars fans, not everyday viewers. Like, if we introduce this whole new concept of what the galaxy was, it's like, can we then translate it into a future storyline where, like, it has nothing to do with it, but, like, this is what you thought the galaxy was. This is what it was like then, and this is what it is like now. So it's like, perhaps I really hope so, because calling it this whole Project Luminous thing, like, there's got to be more to it. You know what I mean? Like, so.
I feel like they came up with that title because it sounded cool, and they weren't ready to announce anything yet, and that was it. And Project Luminous, I mean, maybe it has something to do with it. I hold out hope, and I don't know. Mm-hmm. I do worry that they try too hard, and the problem is, for me, we'll get into odds in a second, but the problem for me is Solo did so poorly that, and it felt like that was the path Star Wars needed to go on, where they were connecting things finally, and then it bombs and they're like, well, we're not going to connect things because everybody just wants X. And you're like, oh, man. And then, Rise of Skywalker comes out and fan base went from split to a third. Like, it just keeps getting chopped up and, fans are selfish is basically it. It's true. We get what you get. Like it, don't like it, don't like it. Just relax yourself.
Yeah.
Odds?
Yes.
Never tell me the odds.
Never tell me the odds. Brought to us by our Patreons. Have you heard of our Patreon? It's patreon.com/rebelscumpodcast.
Wait,
and we have things.
The single guy has only got a 6 out of 10 rating on IMDb.
I'd go 7. I know I watched most of that series.
It was phenomenal.
But it's like, it's not, it came in the era of Seinfeld and Friends, but I wouldn't.
But it was better than Caroline in the City, and it lasted less. Okay, anyway, go on.
Yeah.
Ming Na's a Patreon.
On our Patreon, we have things that if you give us your hard-earned cash to support us, to build whatever this is that we call a podcast, you get it. You get the stuff. You get more of us talking, and you get to be on our show, and we love it, and we love you. And these are our Patreons. Brian Ringas, Never Tell Me the Odds. Executive producer, Heidi Feder, Barry Brophy, Dennis Allen, Mary Kristen Aton, Jeff Wilson, Aaron Quinton, Al Schuler, Phil Staniforth, Janet Rubio, Rachel Alford, Rural Farmboy, Sooner Thrawn, Austin Schur, Scott D, Andy Higgins, Josh Price, and Mason Hope.
I'm going Matt W. Rez, Frank Perkins, Neil Lowry, D. Raven Spencer, Gleek Play 1, Kayla Davis, Automated Joy, Charlotte Jericho, Kane, 4-Leaf Clover, Girls with Sabers, The Den of Nerds, and... That's not... Jonathan Silverman!
Wasn't it was it a cartoon credit?
No, that was Caroline in the City.
Oh, that's Caroline City.
Oh, good old Ernest Borgnine. Fantastic as the doorman. Fantastic. Thank you, Patreons.
I read that Babu Frick is that actress's impersonation of Ernest Borgnine and Joe Pesci. That's the voice of Babu Frick.
Babu Frick saved by Spielberg. That might be in the news. Sorry to ruin it.
Forget what her name is. I have it in Holo News. I'll say that.
She's
damn it, James. I'm
sorry about that.
How do you have this uncanny ability to ruin Holo News? Anyways, yes, so that's our Patreons. What are the odds?
Thank you so much, Patreon, for all your support. First odds of Fennec Shand being a clone. Is that her looking down at her own body at the end of that episode, Brock? Yes, 102%. Ooh. Yeah.
You have sold it to me. I was like, oh, clones, come on, James. But then, yeah, her looking down at it, because that would be kind of cool, because then she'd be like the best bounty hunter, because you could never destroy her or assassin. Oh, if that is the case, I'm going 100%. 100% all in.
I'm going to go full Brock. I'm close to 40. I feel like it'll be a flashback and she'll be associated with like Bill Burr and that group of characters, and that'll be that episode. It'll be like this big, like, I hope they don't do any flashback or the clip shows. Mm-hmm. Do you imagine the Mandalorian clip show? Him and Baby Yoda and the Razor Crest. Remember that time, Baby Yoda, when Fennec Shand shot at us? Oh, yes. And then they just cut to it. And like, that was crazy. And then Jason Bateman appears because it's the Hogan family all of a sudden. And I'm going to go full Brock on that one. It would be cool, though, if that was her over her own body. And who would have saw that coming?
Yeah.
Rebel Scum podcast saw that coming.
I hate when we're right about things.
So do I, actually. I kind of like, it's better when we're wrong. Because it also, the year in review show, it's always funnier when we get stuff wrong.
Yeah.
Odds of a the odds of a live action Ahsoka being revealed on May 4th.
Yeah, 25%. I don't know. I think it would be a good drop. But I think you're only appealing to like half of the Star Wars watching.
Well,
people.
they could do like a Star Wars show on YouTube and just have her on there, and like it wouldn't be the biggest thing, but yeah, for Star Wars fans, the big thing is the Mandalorian show and Clone Wars ending.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm going 23%.
But yeah, I'm going to go low. Just I don't know. I think we're almost there, but if it is confirmed 110%. That's what's going to happen with the Mandalorian at some point, then yeah, I can believe it then. That's when I'll believe.
I'm going 23%. It's just like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool. I mean, hopefully. But I mean, not hopefully. I shouldn't say that.
Oh, yeah.
This is the biggest typo I've ever made on one of these things ever. Odds of Mandalorians appearing in the High Republic. Will we see the Mandalorians in the High Republic series?
I'm going to go 100%. I think they're going all in on the Mandalorian stuff, quite frankly.
But do you think the Mandalorian stuff will be isolated to Clone Wars and Mandalorian?
Clone Wars. I think it's a good move. I think in the next 2 to 3 years, Mandalorian is going to be like the hot Star Wars topic. Just because of the show, of course. But then like, it's going to be I feel like it's going to be as synonymous as the term Jedi. So go all in on it so that everyone is just thinking about Mandalorians, talking about Mandalorians, blah, blah, blah. Just put it in. Just put it in.
Yeah, I'm going to go.
I would argue that maybe they might replace the Stormtrooper. We're like, yeah.
Well, the Boba Fett helmet apparently is going to be on sale, like the Black Series helmet, the big wearable one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm with you. Mandalorian could be as popular.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll replace Jedi, but I think it'll be as synonymous as Jedi for sure. Like, everyone will know.
Oh, no, I'm not talking replace. I'm just saying it's going to be the buzzword of Star Wars in the next decade.
I think it's close already to being that. And I think what Jon Favreau and them have done, they've kind of made them Jedi in a way, how they are their own little sect and they're isolated and they have this rich history.
Look,
hi.
When my mother Margaret Todd starts using the term Mandalorian, and when your father Pasquale starts using the term Mandalorian, then it.
Oh, my parents love the show.
What I.
My parents love the show.
Pasquale Razile.
I like the Mandalorian. There's no kissing. I guarantee you, if they don't kiss at the end of Rise of Skywalker, my dad gives it a higher rating. Guarantee you.
Yeah.
Also, if every single character would have died, if Palpatine would have just killed them all and that's how it ended, he would have given it the best rating. The best of them all. Those are our odds for today. Oh no. Hold on. Ready? Holo news. Da 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 da. Holo news. This is the Holo news you've been looking for. It's Holo news. I added a verse so that you could get it out of your phone. You're welcome.
Holo news, the news you need to know right now. Now, we're all sitting inside, and as I've been talking the last few weeks, I finished Fallen Order. So why don't you play Fallen Order? Go, guess what? It's on sale for pretty much 60% off of the original
58%?
market price. Whatever. If you are in the mood to play some Star Wars, and I highly suggest this game, I only have US dollar prices here, but now on PC, it is available for $29. The Xbox Deluxe Edition is for $34, and PS4 is at $40, and it's just a regular one. Whatever. The game is there. It's very affordable. Go get it if you need something to do. I can't suggest it enough. And we kind of spoiled this earlier. Sorry, James kind of spoiled this earlier. Neil Scanlon, of all people, well, not all people, he just seems to be the guy that they're all talking to, and he's just revealing things. He was in an interview and revealed that apparently Babu Frick was not supposed to survive the explosion of Kajimi. He said that it could be a rumor, but I believe JJ screened the movie for Steven Spielberg, and at the end, Spielberg said, "What happened to Babu?" Everyone thought, "Oh God, what did happen to Babu?" So apparently they were able to drop him into the scene where Zori Bliss is, "I'm alive," and then he pops up, like, "Hey!" Shirley Henderson, that was the actress I'm trying to remember, who, if you don't know who she is Moaning Myrtle in the Harry Potter films. So that's right, Babu Frick and Moaning Myrtle are the same person. She was even surprised when he popped up at the end of Rise of Skywalker. So this could be very legit that he was not supposed to survive, but arguably one of the best parts of Rise of Skywalker. And in our final news, we're all sitting at home not spending money. Well, guess what? Somebody spent some money. There was an online auction sale for a retired couple's 30-year collection of Star Wars toys and memorabilia, and it sold for double what was expected. They had amassed a married couple from Surbiton, which I believe is in the UK. I apologize if it's not. Amassed 250 items from the Star Wars product line since the 1980s, almost half of which were the coveted Palatoy figures, which crucially were still in their original cardboard packaging. I never knew that Palatoy, that's what it was called. So I was like, oh, cool. Among the haul was 3.75-inch tall plastic figures of Anakin Skywalker and Chewbacca. Now that's Anakin, Return of the Jedi Anakin, not Hayden Christensen. Anakin that you see at the end of the movie that is then later replaced by Hayden Christensen, an action figure of that actor. And there was also unique pieces of merchandise, including a pair of Empire Strikes Back roller skates and themed bubble gum. It sparked an international bidding war, was held by C&T Auctions of Ashford, Kent, in Kent. The marquee lot was a rare Anakin Skywalker figure that went for £4,800, a Chewbacca that went for £3,960, while a Power Droid figure achieved $2,340, which I believe is an R2. There's a picture of the R2, with the paper outside or whatever it was. And the most unusual items in the sale was a pack of Star Wars bubblegum the couple bought in America that originally they paid 20 cents for and were sold for a staggering 200 pounds. A pair of Darth Vader roller skates sold for 60 pounds, the same price as a pair of toy Ewoks. And the auction achieved a hammer price of £70,000, with extra fees taking the overall figures raised to £84,000, which was shocking £1,000. So they almost tripled what they were promised. That's fantastic. Who says the coronavirus is keeping us down? People are spending money on memorabilia to forget that they have to stay inside. What a wonderful time to be alive. This has been your Holo News.
Top 5.
Top 5.
Today's top 5.
What's the top 5 today?
This is one that I thought you would enjoy. It's top 5 Funko Pops we would like to see made. They have not been made yet, but we would like to see them made. We kind of talked about a pod racing one on a live stream this week. So that's what kind of got this started. My number 5, Maul with spider legs. You want people to understand? Just throw up Maul with like a big Maul with like big spider legs. That's what I want. Maul with spider legs.
My number 5 is going to be the one we were talking about, Anakin in a pod racer. Like, I'm surprised. I mean, I guess it's a little tricky because it's a weird thing to make into a small plastic toy, but they've done it before. They'll do it again. So yeah, I would love that. Anakin in a pod racer.
Yeah, absolutely. My number 4, Armor versus Stormtrooper set. Just like a set of and like broken Stormtrooper helmets. I want that one.
I'm going to go with the 3-pack.
Ooh.
It will be Chewbacca's family from the holiday special.
Heidi's on board with this one.
It's a 3-pack, which is perfect. Lumpy, Itchy, and not Mala. They already have tons of Chewbaccas. Perfect.
I like it. They do have a lot of Chewbaccas. Number 3, Dexter Jetster.
Ooh,
Dexter.
yeah.
How have they not made that yet?
Look great.
He would look amazing. He could also be one of those big ones, too. Comic-Con exclusive. Comic-Con will be canceled soon. I think that information is imminent. So put that at EB Games now.
My number 3. Hashtag bring back Teak. Let's put Teak from Battle of Endor in it. I was like, which one is he in?
I'd like anybody from the Droids and Ewok cartoons to be made into Funkos. My number 2, fitting, because his name is Two Tubes. I'm a huge advocate of Edrio Two Tubes, and I hope he gets made into a Funko / Black Series. There is not enough Edrio Two Tubes for us to indulge upon.
I always forget his name, but my number 2 is going to be Blue Leader from Rogue One.
Nice. That mustache should be flocked.
What's that guy's name? Whatever. He's got a name. Andrew knows him.
Blue Leader, my number 1. I think this goes without saying. I think most people will expect this. Ben Guadaneros. Don't ask me how that thing would stay upright. I don't know. It would probably have to be glued to the stand. Otherwise, because it's all top heavy. You couldn't do it. Maybe Ben Quadraneros in a pod, and his broken pod racer would be the best. But my number 1 is Ben Quadraneros. Brock, take me home tonight.
I know this is strange for me to say as I stare at like 100 Funkos on my far wall over there. It's hard to remember which ones they have made.
It's true. They've made a lot.
I think I am gonna go. Oh, okay. I think they should do all of the Rebels ones. Do they have Rebel Funko?
Yep.
I think they do.
They do.
Do they have a Zeb?
Yep.
Oh shit. See, this is my problem. I don't collect a lot of Star Wars ones because it's just impossible. So I forget what they've made.
Use Zeb's
Do they have an
parents.
Admiral Raddus?
Ooh, I don't think so. I'm gonna say no to Raddus.
Okay, then I'll go Admiral Raddus.
Admiral
just
Raddus
the aliens are the best pops and.
Absolutely. Let us know what your top 5 Funkos are in the live chat or in the comments down below. Once again, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and wherever you get your podcasts. And also right here on the YouTube, if that's where you're joining us from on YouTube. This is going to wrap up the 165th episode of the Rebel Scum podcast. His name is
Brock.
And my name is James. And I was pretty good for the whole time, but he was always, thanks for watching and listening, everybody. He was always Scum.
Rebel Scum.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.